The universe's response is always yes. And before we get into it today, I will encourage you to maybe speed up this podcast episode because you can control the speed very likely wherever you're listening to this, because I'm a bit tired and I want to make sure I still chat about this topic right now. But yeah. But anyways, I saw this TikTok, and in so many words, the girl was talking about God. And I'm not going to talk too much about the God aspect of it because I feel like some of my listeners, are religious, and I want to kind of interpret some of the things she said through a more neutral lens and then also build on top of that. But a key thing that came out of it was kind of the universe's only response is yes. And I feel like that applies to so many things I've read and also the way I personally like to live my life. And then also another TikTok I came across this week that I thought was really, really powerful. But the universe's response to you is always yes. So when people talk about like the law of attraction, the law of abundance, and all of these different things and how to manifest the life of your dreams and even just work towards the life of your dreams, right? To like step away from maybe the more spiritual woo-woo route. Ultimately, in all of those efforts, you are trying to kind of project a certain energy because the universe says yes and accepts whatever energy you put out. And then from that energy, it's going to get certain results. So if you put out a kind of negative energy, you only focus on all the things that you don't want, or you're bitter, or you lack gratitude for the good things in your life and whatever, the universe's response to that is also yes, right? So the life that you live and your reality, and more important than just saying your reality, because I think that's too vague, but your reality as it pertains to how you are currently filtering the world around you. The universe is saying yes to that filtration and that perception. So the universe is always accepting, and it's accepting even of the things happening to you that you don't enjoy. If you are reinforcing those kind of patterns. And this isn't to say when bad things happen to you that are outside of your control, you should be blamed and you should feel bad and the universe is amplifying that because how did you let that happen? Not at all. What I'm saying is the universe can only say yes. It can only accept what's happening. It can only accept what your subconscious thinks and how that influences your thoughts and how your thoughts and feelings influence your behavior. And then your behavior then influences the outcomes that happen in your environment as you kind of respond to events happening in your environment. And the universe can only say yes to all of those things. Now, to kind of help you guys see what I'm saying, I wanted to talk about the other TikTok that I saw this week, right? And that was basically this mom saying that she has two daughters, like two young daughters. And the older daughter is more of like a kind of rainbow. First of all, I really hope this mom takes that TikTok down before her kids get old enough to like watch that kind of stuff, because I don't think it's nice, particularly the way she characterized the kids. Like, obviously, if they're old enough and mature enough, they'll get it. And I mean, it's not factually wrong, but I do know that kids can be quite sensitive to certain things. But the lesson from it was gold, so I'm glad she posted it. I just hope she deletes it before her kids see it. But anyways, getting to the point, her older daughter, it was in the morning time, and she asked both her kids, and she describes what her daughters as. The older one is kind of more like a ray of sunshine, very warm and bubbly and whatever, and the younger one is kind of more like a Wednesday Addams character, if you know who that is. So very just like more of like a Debbie Downer kind of negative energy, if she had to describe the two kids. And so in the morning she said, what do you guys want for breakfast? And the older daughter was very specific because she knows what she likes and she's vocal about what she likes, very expressive and grateful and excited about things she enjoys in her life, right? Because her personality is more on the warm, bubbly side. So she immediately had her order ready. She said, I want eggs, I want 2 little oranges or whatever, I want this. Like, she spelled out her preferred breakfast to the letter. And then for the younger daughter, when the mom asked her, okay, what do you want for breakfast? All she said was, I don't want eggs. Okay. And think of the mom in this situation as the universe. And think of the fact, like I said, like the universe can only say yes to what you give it to work with. Okay. So the mom is like, okay, well, I have 2 orders in front of me. One of them is ultra specific, and the other one, I only know what they don't want, which actually doesn't tell me anything about what they do want. So she just kind of immediately starts to make the older daughter's breakfast because it's easier to go that route. And so she goes in the fridge, she starts pulling out the things to make the eggs. Then she starts seeing, as she's making this very specific breakfast request, other things that she knows her older daughter likes. Because again, her older daughter is expressive and clear about the things that she enjoys. So she started seeing blueberries and yogurt and other things. And she was like, okay, I'll pull that out. So the breakfast ended up being all the things the older daughter requested and then more. And she puts it in front of the older daughter and she's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like lots of gratitude, right? And then she said, this was even more than what I asked for. Like, I'm so happy, right? And then the youngest daughter was now really, really upset because she didn't have any breakfast. And it's like, yeah, when the mom, and that sucks, of course. But then when the mom was reflecting, it's like, well, I don't know what you want. I just know what you don't want. And even beyond like just this morning of you not being in the mood for eggs, even when she looks in the fridge and was making her older daughter breakfast, she knew to add things to her older daughter's breakfast request because she already knows what her older daughter likes. And that's what the older daughter leads with and projects with. But even as she came across these other items, all of which are not eggs, all she could think of was, well, my younger daughter doesn't like blueberries, doesn't like yogurt, doesn't like this, would never want to eat this. So she can only look through the fridge and eliminate things, but she can't look through the fridge and comfortably feel like she can put something in front of the younger daughter and know that she'll be happy with it. And this also made me think of like, just when you enter a restaurant, right? Like you don't enter a restaurant and the waiter comes around and says, hey, can you let me know what you don't like? Right? Of course, for allergies, they'll want to know that because allergies in combination with your menu order gives them clarity to say, okay, you want this menu order, but I'm getting more specific. I won't put nuts in it, or I won't put this in it, right? But they don't come around and take your order by saying, what would you absolutely not want to eat on this menu? Because then when they go into the kitchen, it's like, okay, well, I know they don't want, a mojito, and I know they don't want pasta, but do they want a burger? Do they want wings? Do they want this? Do they want anything, right? Like you aren't actually giving the kitchen, the universe, the mother, you're not giving them anything to work with by projecting out with what you don't want. And so when I was saying the universe only says yes, it's more so to say that the universe can only respond and work with what you give it. And the universe accepts any outcome, even if it's not your preferred outcome. So you have to do your part to guide towards a certain outcome or make it clear what your desires are. Make your mind really clear and pointed and focused. Don't let your mind be infiltrated by negative scripts, negative narrative, negative, self-talk, right? Because that will influence your behaviors. And then once your behaviors are out there, that's what you're telling the universe you want and deserve and, all of these things. And the universe says yes, right? So if the universe sees two kids and one kid studies every single day effectively, reads their books, is organized, pays attention in class, does everything that they're supposed to do. And then they see another kid who doesn't pay attention in class, never reads their books, doesn't take any interest in their material. The universe will say yes to both kids. And ultimately, the kid that is studying for the purpose of getting good grades, in their mind, they're like, I really want good grades. I really want to push myself. I really want to learn this material. That influences their behavior because they stay organized. They keep a schedule. They study hard. And then the universe accepts that and continues to go in flow with those behaviors and results in the good grades that they desire and whatever academic outcomes. For the kid that says, well, I'm too stupid to take school seriously, I'll never understand anything. Even when I used to try, it never worked. And so that's a script right in their head. Then they respond and their behavior says, well, why bother? Because I'm already a failure. And then they don't do the work, they don't do their assignments, whatever. The universe says yes too. They're like, okay, well, that's the narrative that's in their head. That's the work that they're putting in. You kind of just get more of the same because the universe has accepted that path, right? And even less about the external world and how the external world responds to you as the core driver, or in this case, the core input that you can actually control, which is only yourself in any given situation. To zoom in a bit more and think about your mind and the landscape of your mind. I think I talk a lot on this podcast about the importance of making your mind a safe space. That's a super critical goal because your mind informs everything else about your life, right? Like when it comes to exercising, for example, your body is able to keep going. Like when you watch a 10-minute home exercise video, or you go for a run, or you go to the gym, like you won't literally, die if you stop exercising in 99% of cases. Like there are cases where you're genuinely overworked. Like people apparently die after marathons and things like that. But in 99% of cases, like when you give up in the middle of a set, or like you're doing your crunches, you're supposed to do it for 1 minute, you stop at the 58-second mark, or your planks or whatever it is. These are exercise examples, but in general, right, like when it comes to any kind of physical exertion, usually your body is very much capable of continuing to do the thing, but your mind decided it didn't want to for whatever reason. And it could be valid. You feel tired, you feel this, whatever. It's not like those things aren't valid, but your body is responding to your mind. So your mind needs to be a safe space that allows for your behaviors to be easy and natural. Your mind has to have a certain, if it's going to be attached to an ego, the ego and the identity needs to be something that is powerful and fulfilling for you and enjoyable for you. And your mind needs to be kind of a safe space to kind of till the soil and plant these seeds and water them and let yourself flourish. So thinking about your mind also like says yes. So you would think, right, because it's not fun to be stressed out, or fun to be anxious, or fun to be depressed, or fun to feel bad, you would think that your mind would stop you from doing it, right? Like, of course, there's on some kind of biological species level of maybe adrenaline, right? Like back when maybe we didn't live such comfortable lives as human beings, negative reactions in the body and mind were required in order to keep us safe and alive, right? But if we think about our day-to-day life, we know that those things are not enjoyable for us. Also, having like spiked cortisol levels and being stressed out is really, really bad for like aging purposes. So you would think that your mind should not want to allow you to even feel things that are unpleasant, and yet you do. And yet you still do have bad days. You still have moments of rumination. You still have moments of depression. So what does that mean? That means that even your own mind, if you cannot pause and learn to be self-aware, learn to be mindful, learn to like notice the patterns of discussion taking place in your head, and realizing that you actually play a role in guiding them, interrupting them, and redirecting them. And you can build that muscle over time until you're really, really good at it. When you're living, non-consciously, and you're walking around thinking that your internal scripts are genuinely who you are and coming from you, your mind will piss you off. Like something will happen in your environment, even if it's totally valid for you to be pissed off, your mind will keep making it worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Like your mind will keep ruminating, keep looking for different angles and reasons why the thing was ultra disrespectful, demonize the person, demonize the situation, make yourself the victim. Like your mind will make that experience 10 times worse because it's attached to your ego. So in order to make your ego real, your mind has to kind of create narratives and feelings and emotions that drive behavior that would make that part of your ego that identifies with that behavior and mindset real. And so even if that behavior and mindset and all those things are not pleasant for you, that kind of like neural pathway or whatever that puts those things together, that identification with that like kind of identity, like that identification with that element of yourself, if it's strong enough, even if it's a bad thing and it's unpleasant for you, you will continue to do it because you've not questioned the muscle or pushed back against it. So even your own mind will say yes because it's comfortable. It's comfortable and familiar to do the same things over and over again. It takes work to step out of what you're used to. That's why it's so nice to have habits and do things on autopilot. Like if you're a coffee drinker or whatever, or in the morning you like to drink water or whatever it is, right? The things you kind of can do without thinking too hard, they don't take up those energy reserves of making decisions. It's only when you have to sit down, maybe do something you're not in the mood to do, and all of that stuff that you start eating into your decision reserves. The decision to get up, go to the kitchen, make a cup of coffee, that's something I even look forward to and something I can do on autopilot. right? And so those things are not as stressful, and it's just easier for your brain to do the things that it always does. And that's why, you try to repetitively do things until it kind of sticks. But anyways, your mind says yes to you. So if you, let me give a more, like, instead of speaking so abstractly, like, if I see myself as an intelligent person, and then I go out and maybe I make a mistake, or maybe I actually don't make a mistake. Someone misunderstands something I say in like a work meeting, and they imply that I'm stupid, or basically say that I'm stupid in front of a bunch of people. This is like a complete hypothetical, but let's say that happens, right? And then, yes, of course, it wouldn't be pleasant for someone to call you stupid, not in a public way, and all of these things. But the thing has already happened. Like, after the moment passes, this is how I like to think, and I'm lucky to be able to do this because I have trained this muscle over many years. And that's not to say I don't ever get irritated, but the best way to handle that, right, is to say, okay, you've already called me stupid or whatever it is, or reveal. Actually, this is actually a recent thing, or a good example from this week. I had a meeting. It went well. Like, it didn't go perfectly, but I was leading the meeting and I think it went well. Like, I survived it. I was a bit stressed about pulling it off. So I would say it went well, all things considered, right? And when we kind of debriefed as a team afterwards, I got some feedback, and the feedback also made sense to what I think didn't go perfectly in the meeting, right? But of course, the feedback is happening in front of other people and could easily imply that maybe I didn't handle the preparation of the meeting the best. And my dad like called this out later, because he was like saying how when he was listening to that debrief, he was impressed because I didn't, take it personally. I kind of just accepted the criticism and ended the meeting saying like, okay, these are my like takeaways, having, heard everyone's input and blah, 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 and how I think we should go on to next steps to make sure this still is something that's like moving forward with momentum, blah, blah, blah. And he was impressed because he's like, it's not the most easy thing for someone to hear something that could imply that they didn't do something well. But a very, another common way that might have gone is shutting down, being extremely offended or defensive, feeling like the person's very valid criticism was criticism in a negative light, criticism intended to embarrass me or hurt me in some way. Oh, it was said in front of the team, it's so disgraceful. And then because I'm too worried about my ego that's now been harmed, because in the negative example, I'm really, really identified with the idea of intelligence or flawlessness or whatever. And if I'm so identified with that and I'm so upset and spiraling from the comments being made, I won't end the meeting the way I did, right? Because I would maybe be too upset to speak, or maybe even lash out because of the way I'm feeling. And ultimately, just not be in the right frame of mind to actually absorb what I needed to absorb and learn from what people were saying, right? And then beyond that, even after the meeting, I'd probably continue to think about what was said, why it was said that way, what does that mean, and what does that mean about me? Because again, my mind is perceiving this event, the same event perceived from two perspectives, but my mind is perceiving this event from the perspective of like, I'm an intelligent person, somebody else doesn't think I am, who am I, right? And so now my mind needs to create a fight, and the fight to kind of resolve this conflict is like maybe attacking the other person in my head, being hateful towards people, feeling like, maybe having some level of like a victim mentality of like, oh, well, these odds were stacked against me, or I had to do this on a rush, or X, Y, and Z, right? And ultimately, I don't get anything productive out of that experience. And even if I manage, for whatever reason, to still absorb what's useful and come away with useful next steps, I still then have to absorb the negative experience of doing that back and forth and dealing with my mental landscape for the hours or days it might take for me to get over that comment, right? Instead of like, I don't know, I had already forgotten about that instance, and only in this podcast episode and me wanting to give you guys a tangible example did it come up, right? Because like I said, your mind wants to say yes too. You want to say yes. Your ego wants to say yes. So if in your mind the scripts running are negative, your body, your mind, all of that has already said yes to that. So it's just going to keep pushing the program. And you can't tell yourself what you are not. You can only say who you are and move towards that direction and act like it. and embodying that identity will make it easier to kind of naturally do the appropriate behaviors. And when you're showing up in the right ways, the universe will reward you. But when you're not showing up and you've justified not showing up for a million different reasons, the universe will accept that as well and say, damn, okay, maybe they don't like to do that. Which makes me think of my mom and we were watching, she had seen this YouTube short, and she like showed me on the TV from her watch history, and it was this, if you guys have seen that show about like popping the balloon, I don't know why I've never really sat down to watch it. I think I just watched the clips online, and I'm like, that's enough of that. I love reality TV too, so I should probably tap in, but I'm like, that's enough of that kind of television for me. But she saw this clip, because I don't think she watches it either, but she saw this clip, and basically this lady had been popping the balloon on guys because she was really tall, and she just felt, or I say really tall, she's like 5'9", which I'm 5'9.5", so okay, me too, girl. But anyways, she's tall, and so she would pop the balloon on guys and basically say she didn't think they were cute or tall enough and whatever. I didn't really think it was a big deal. I didn't think she was that mean, but they kind of clapped back on her at the end because the clips showed all of her rejections of like everyone. And then the one time she didn't reject someone, this guy came and said, well, you know, how old are you? Oh, do you have a kid? Have you ever been married? And so she had a kid and she'd never been married. Again, none of these are flaws, but he basically was like, well, you seem to be really good at being single, so maybe you should just keep doing it. The crazy thing is, I don't even know if he was trying to be like shady for real, but it was so funny because she was like, well, have you been married? And he's like, yeah, for 18 years. And she's like, oh, well, did you quit, I guess? And he's like, no, she quit on me. But he's literally like, well, damn, you've always been single, so maybe you should keep being single. But that's really how the universe works. It's like, well, shit, you've always shown up this way. Maybe you should just keep doing it that way. Like, not exactly that, but if that's all you're giving me, then I mean, I could only respond to what you're giving me. The universe can't respond to an energy that you don't put out. It can't respond to behavior that you don't put out. It's not going to reach inside your head and be like, oh my gosh, they really want to be successful in X, Y, and Z, and then just literally show up at your doorstep with the opportunity. Like, you have to make yourself visible. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. If you made it all the way to the end, what's something you can comment? If you made it all the way to the end, comment like an emoji related to a drink, like a cup of tea, cup of coffee, whatever. And I forgot to introduce myself. Hi, my name is Obie, and thanks for thinking out loud with me on the Live Lumani podcast. Don't forget to follow the pod for more and binge the other episodes. Today was really winding. I don't think I should make podcast episodes late at night anymore, but just a lot of ideas on my mind, and I feel like I haven't had a moment to kind of sit down and really talk to you guys on lots of different things in a while. So I think you can maybe tell which episodes are made all on the same night, even though I schedule them, because I'm a lot more winding when I'm tired, and even this outro proves that. But anyways, just trying my best. You should see me again on a Wednesday or a Sunday, depending on when you're listening to this. I love you so much, and I will see you next time. Mwah.